Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Hotline League. It is going to be a great one because we've gotten rid of the guests, all right? For a long time, Cubby and I have agreed the guests hold the show back. Raz, Kangas, Jamada, that's for a long time the pro players were holding the show back. You haven't seen one of them for a while, right? So it's just going to be the two of us tonight. We're going to do open mics talking about a bunch of different stuff. It's going to be really good. And it's totally not because the LTA is crumbling and no one is around to listen to join the symphony, the orchestra, as they're all heading to the lifeboats. Cubby, how was your week?
I don't know how to follow that one up, Travis. It was great. Even better now that we don't have a guest, I felt like that intro, you were like Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny, trying to come up with a theory about what's going on. Which, to be fair, you did a pretty good impersonation or impression of that, Travis. I liked it.
Thank you. Jamada apparently actually in chat did not realize that when I uttered his name. I was trying to talk shit behind his back, and unfortunately it appears I did so in front of his face. So we're just going to move on. But yeah, your week, has it been good, Cubby?
Yeah, it's been fun. I had a couple NACL broadcasts. The games were meh. As the really hype series that was supposed to be Dark Zero versus New Airport, they played a sub squad as Dark Zero were flying to Florida as their Maryville. So besides that, yeah, I watched a lot of League this week as I just had NACL and LPL and then spent some time in line for the DMV securing a real ID. So outside of that, my week was pretty boring.
Don't remind me. I need to go do that. Ugh.
You traveling anytime soon, Travis? Passport works as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, I probably should just go do it and get it done with because I will be traveling.
It was a 2-hour wait for me, and then I had to go back because they closed the writing test before they closed the DMV. So yeah. Besides that, I've been trying to work out more this week, which is why I'm standing because I pulled a muscle like a dumbass. But that's only for the streamers, not the audio only listeners. So. Yeah, excited to dive in.
Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate your commitment to the show. You've injured yourself in a mortal fashion, and you're still here, so it's very much appreciated.
Yeah.
So it might be a bit of a shorter episode since it is just the two of us, but that's nice because it'll be a nice clean cut episode. Okay, there's not going to be any crazy hijinks like normal. My week was pretty good. I got lunch with a good friend of mine, an author friend of mine, last Friday, so that was pretty cool.
I saw that. That was
cool. And then we won't say who, but you saw it on the close friends list. So we'll just leave it at that. I'm not trying to brag. And then yeah, other than that, just been pretty good. I was at the LTA this past weekend after missing the last 2 weekends. It is nice to be getting into a stage where it feels like the matches have higher stakes to them. There were a couple matches that were closer, but it was kind of like a bit of a stompy weekend, I guess I would say. So that was unfortunate, I think, but I guess that kind of makes sense as we're in the group stage where you start to get a lot of imbalanced matchups, so that type of stuff. So but it was a good weekend overall. Had a good time, played some Magic last night with some friends at Team Liquid, and yeah, overall pretty good. But excited to talk about all things LTA this evening on the show. Do you want to give a big shout out to PrizePicks and NZXT for sponsoring the show? They're wonderful partners, and I'm happy to be chatting more about them as the episode goes on. But yeah, Cubby, what is the big news this week?
I mean, I think the big news that at least cracked open today that a lot of fans might want to talk about is the fact that it was reported that TL is adding a 6th man in the jungle. That jungler would be Yuji, who is a part of the Maryville team that also was known as Dragonsteel, currently known as Dark Zero Dragonsteel. Yuji has won the Most Valuable Prospect Award in back-to-back splits. Other players who have won that award were Dokla, Busio, and Masu. The criteria we have for that award, unironically, is who will be worth the most wins within 2 years of playing at the next level, with year 2 being weighted more heavily. And unironically, within 2 years of winning that award and being promoted, all 3 players won LCS and made top 8 at Worlds, which is pretty crazy. We definitely didn't see that one coming when we made the award. But Yuji's the only part of won it back-to-back. He's been really, really good. And definitely, for my sense, kind of felt like some justice for him because, of course, his last offseason was a mess without getting into it. He thought that he was going to be a resident. He wasn't a resident. Teams thought he was going to be a resident. He wasn't a resident. A lot of people made plans for him being a resident, then they didn't want to pay for the visa. The fact that he ends up at TL, obviously he's not a starter, but I feel like that's a spot where I could see Yuji being successful, and he's been a really good player at the last level. And obviously, a lot of fans have been clamoring about TL's roster for a while, so I definitely think we're gonna have some more opinions on that today.
Yeah, no, it was funny. I was about to be like, and Cubby, can you please give us a little bit of context for this player who people might not be familiar with, but you knocked it out of the park with that. So, no, I think it'll be fun. People have been trying to figure out what Team Liquid's going to be doing to solve some of their issues for a while. So we'll see what ends up happening here. But yeah, we also, I think, just overall are always looking for people to call in and talk about the games. And I think after 4 weeks of LTA, folks should have some pretty good understandings of where the strong teams are and who's worth chatting about. I think when we look at the league right now, it does sort of feel like it's neck and neck between C9 and FlyQuest, and then I don't know, a decent drop from there to maybe 100 Thieves. Do you think 100 Thieves is the third best team in the league right now, Cubby?
I don't know. It feels like my perspective of the league didn't change much from last week. Just because I think after last week, like we saw the C9 FlyQuest match, we're like, okay, it's pretty clear these are the two best teams we have in the league. And it just kind of is a waiting game to see when those teams meet. So, yeah, we'll see if that changes as it goes forward. But I think 100 Thieves were handled pretty decently by FlyQuest, and C9 played a really clean series this week too. So for me, the most interesting thing is the fact that Lion didn't beat TL, and I didn't think the games were that close. And also, SR found the 2-1 against Dignitas, which, Dignitas found the 2-1 against SR, which I don't think a ton of fans had. I don't know if anyone wants to call in about Dig, but it feels like those teams are still a long way away from challenging like even 100 Thieves and TL. But I at least saw a few positives out of Dig this week, so that was good.
Yeah, I guess it's fair to call it the 100 Thieves game. The 100 Thieves match was very heartbreaking for me because, I'm not like some big 100 Thieves fan or anything like that, but I have wanted them to sort of break past this fourth spot that they've been in and to do it on their own, not because Team Liquid looks like they're slumping. And the beginning of the 100 Thieves match, or the 100 Thieves game against FlyQuest in that first game, I was like, is it happening? Are we here? Because they started off so strong and it looked fairly competitive, and then they just seemed to collapse in the late game, and then game two was just, I feel like 100 Thieves were just not on it at that point in time. Maybe after just the fact that they let FlyQuest come back so much in game one. But yeah, I don't know. It was kind of disappointing to see how that went. But I feel like, I don't know, I guess Team Liquid probably wouldn't have gotten 0-2 by FlyQuest, but I just feel like with TL Slip and 100T, maybe on the rise, even if they had a tough match against FlyQuest this week. And I'm starting to feel like in the same way that it's neck and neck between FlyQuest and C9, it could be starting to get neck and neck between 100T and TL if TL can't figure their stuff out.
Potentially, so. Yeah. I think the TL for me showed some positives this week in their series against Lion. I know it wasn't as clean as fans wanted to, but I think the TL is like, they've had more issues than just outside of their jungler or outside their mid laner, right? I think there are like systemic issue with the team. We talked about impacts, like having a down split at times, even on this show. So I still feel like with all that in mind, TL had a decent showing, and I would still put them over 100 Thieves at the moment, but we'll see. Also for TL fans, it is to my understanding, I have to read the article actually and see how much they shared, because I think the timeline, I don't know if they hit on the timeline of Yuji joining or not, which might be interesting.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how things go. And we should mention, by the way, with the Yuji comment situation, that was been reported by Sheep Esports. I don't think Team Liquid has officially said anything yet.
Yes.
Which, I think we can pretty reasonably assume that it's true. But I do just want to give credit to where it's due and also reference the fact that it's not been officially announced yet.
Yeah. It was EV through Sheep. I just want to see how much they shared, because I don't know if they talked about the timeline. Because obviously with Yuji right now would be on a student visa, and if he goes to work for TL, it'd be a work visa. And that takes a while, to my understanding.
Yeah,
So I
that's
don't
fair.
think I don't know if we're gonna see UG in Split 2.
Split 2's long. I for a while I was operating under the belief that Split 2 ended my birthday weekend, because they didn't have the dates up beyond I guess they didn't have the playoff dates into the calendar, and so I had misread it months ago, and yeah, but I mean, Split 2 goes all the way until the middle of June.
Oh, we'll see. Okay, I mean, we'll see then. But again, it's to my understanding, like this visa will take it's not something that just gets done like a week or two.
Yeah.
Is my understanding. So yeah.
Khan pointing out, and I've seen this as well, that Split 2 ends Father's Day weekend. Cubby, do you think that there will be as many people angry about finals being on Father's Day as there are on about people having finals on Easter?
I mean, no, but also I'll be a bit bummed because the U.S. Opens that weekend. That's a great golf tournament to watch. You know, it's one of the majors.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
also have. I'm worried about my ability to attend it as well because I just did not. So like for people that haven't looked at the calendar yet, finals is less than 2 weeks before the start of MSI. I believe. Because MSI starts end of June, if I understand correctly, and I just never thought that there would like I had made plans before all the calendar stuff got updated and before they had dates announced because I could not have imagined a world where I guess because I'm so used to things ending, in April, quite frankly, I could not have imagined a world where they were doing finals like I don't know 12 days before MSI starts, and so that has been something that I only became aware of a couple days ago, and I have tried to figure out how I'm going to handle it. But yeah, it's a bit stressful. But everybody I think is still getting used to the new schedule, so we'll see how things go. All right. Well, besides the games themselves, besides the Team Liquid news, is there anything else that folks will want to talk about? Let us know. Do you want to explain how this show works if people
Yeah.
haven't called in before?
If you guys want to call in, discord.gg/Travis, drop your take at me, at Cubby. If it's good, we'll play you into the waiting room. You do have to wait within the Discord to be in the waiting room, so we just take your call and make sure that you're on the line. So, yeah, that said, that's about it. Again, we're looking for mostly game takes. We might have 2 takes on TL usually, depending on how this first one goes. And then there's one other topic that you haven't hit on, Travis, but I think that's going to be the first call. So we can kind of just get that out of the way and then hopefully get some more game takes and get into that.
Exciting. Well, if you already have somebody in the waiting room, I'm down to just go ahead. Oh, we don't have somebody in the waiting room. We do have somebody in the waiting room. You're really messing with me here.
Shall we?
Yes. Off he goes.
You know what, Trav? I'm messing with you. He wasn't in the waiting room, but I told him before the show started that if he was there,
you're doing another one of these pre-order situations. I didn't know we could do that.
It was a good take, and definitely a hot topic that again you didn't.
All right,
hit on,
you guys all hear it first. If you want to come on the show, just message Cubby. How early in advance, Cubby? Oh, he conveniently left the channel. Whatever. I tried to get this going. Okay, thank you to a bunch of people who have subbed. Sportsnut, 39 months. Ian for 45. Ezzyez gifted a sub to Big Boy Brawler. This was the the scam train earlier that I missed. I'm sorry, folks. Mac to Ace, Horizon Casts, War is Mad, Papayar. Oh my God, Papayar. It's great to see you. I love your name. I feel like I haven't said it in a while, but 50 months. Thank you so much. MBT, Raging Pianist, and then Dark Tarkonis. We got some more that I'll be reading, including some YouTube memberships. But first, we have our premier guest of the evening, Con. Con, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Boise, Idaho.
Boise, Idaho. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So my take is kind of bouncing off the LEC roadshow they have this weekend, or the MCOY homestand, whatever you want to call it. And for me, as somebody who partaked in watching that, I don't watch LEC normally, and then going to the LTA North afterwards, it really showed me that the path forward to try to get, I feel, some fan excitement back into the league is if orgs can step up. And I don't expect it to be the same level, the big size event, but trying in 2026 to have some type of outside of LA type event where they bring the LTA North back to the fans, whether it's Shopify maybe putting on an event in Toronto during a regular season, whether it's a couple orgs trying to come together and bring the LTA North on a regular season with best of threes to some place in the US across, where it showed the excitement of fans to have the chance to watch League live. And maybe it's because we haven't really had that chance in North America for like 2 years outside of LA, but it definitely just feels like it's something that teams can invest in, and it gives fans a reason to invest back into that team.
Do you want to explain what happened this weekend for those that don't watch LEC?
Yeah. So one of the things that Riot has allowed, it seems, in different regions, whether it be Korea with Genji and T1, or in the LEC, this split with KC and Koi, they're putting on a roadshow type of event in the regular season for the LEC. So
they're partnering up and then hosting
yes.
it like in their stadiums.
Yes. Like Koi this weekend hosted, I believe, 2 days of action between G2, Fnatic, Giant X, and obviously Koi, in front of a crowd of, I want to say, was it like 10,000, maybe a little bit less than 10,000. I don't know the exact number, but basically it was like a sellout crowd that was full of electricity, who was excited and passionate to watch not just Koi. The Koi games were a lot more louder because it was a Koi event, but all of the games brought like an atmosphere that you just don't get from, like, it was really night and day to see, like, to go from that experience to then go to like the closet experience for LTA North this last weekend, where it's like you go from hearing the fans beat like in the loud stadium, the fans being involved, to like a completely silent broadcast. It was like night and day.
Where out of curiosity, so they did this roadshow, and I assume that then they're still going to do the finals for Split 2 in the LEC arena.
They announced this weekend that finals are going to be in Madrid.
Oh, I
think that's finals for the end of the year. I think
3,
Travis
right?
is right for like like the finals eventually for this split will be in the LEC studio. I'm pretty confident for like Split 2.
Yeah. So I'm like very torn on this, because in one sense I feel like any chance for you to have an expanded audience that brings hype and energy is good. I will say it is very strange that like this random weekend is like in a big arena, and then you're gonna be like, and now time for our finals in the studio. And maybe the answer is that it's just like, okay, well, if this is the best possible situation, like it's better. You probably shouldn't just avoid doing an arena show because you can't do the finals in an arena or something, but it is a very strange space that we're in now, where like it makes sense to do this but not a finals in an arena. And I get that it's because there's another group paying for it, but it's
yeah. I mean, look, like fan experience and fan wise, like no one's gonna argue that this isn't awesome. I also, like, for anyone that missed LEC this weekend, there was a banging ending to like Mad Lions Koi versus Fnatic, right? And that's where a lot of this conversation came around, because like there was the Fnatic was trying to end the game, hit the Nexus got sub 1k HP. They failed. Mad Lions Koi went base to base and won the game, right? And so like to hear the pop from the audience like at these moments, or even as someone that like was just tuning in as a fan to my schedule was terrible because LPL this past week. So IEM Melbourne, there was a killing final there that went to 3 overtimes in CS2. Like you get pops like from the audience, especially in first-person shooters, right? Because like some kills are really big, really impactful. But man, like no one's gonna argue from a fan perspective that isn't better. But look at like where we're at from the league. You have teams putting that on, and like I would love to have a partner in LTA North that has their own stadium and is willing to host a roadshow, and then we can actually like go fill it up with more people instead of being in the closet for a weekend. I think fan wise that is what everyone would love to see. But that scenario that I'm painting is literally like what happened for LEC, right? One of the teams is like, hey, we have the stadium, let's work with the league to do a roadshow, and it was great, right? We don't have that option right now in the LTA North. So yeah, I'd love to see that. But again, it takes a team building their own stuff and infrastructure, and then being able to like use that for the league.
Now, I'm pretty sure this is not a Koi owned arena they were at this weekend. This was a regular arena in Madrid.
So they just rented the space on their own.
They just rented this?
Yes.
But I know that like when K Corp does it, they own theirs.
Yes, K Corp did build out, and their arena is significantly smaller. It's going to be about 3K when they go next month.
Okay, who cares? They've hosted the Red Bull event there, and like they pack it up, and it's a cool environment, you know?
I agree 100%.
Yeah. Okay, but my bad. I didn't realize they rented it. I know that K Corp owns it.
Oh, you're saying they don't? You're saying they don't own it, or they do?
They don't own it, but there are plans for K Corp to do the same thing later in the split for LEC, and that arena they do own.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was wrong applying it to this weekend. I thought they owned the arena. That's on me. But still, like that scenario holds true for K Corp when this happens later on.
This is interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
sheep. Yeah. Yeah.
So what I would like, my thing too is one, I think Shopify tried claiming themselves as like the Toronto area last year and stuff. I think they're a team with the investment crew they have around them that they could even rent out. And I'm not saying we host something in like a 10,000 seat arena like LEC is. I'm not that oblivious to the state of the North American esports. I don't know if that sells out even for like a big event and say somewhere like Toronto. But I think you can get a theater of around 3,000 to 5,000 places in certain areas, and teams can work together to try and get what should be a much cheaper expense of getting a theater rented out, and try to give opportunities for fans to get back involved. Because I also think, from an experience, just myself and seeing people, it's a lot easier to get people invested into something when they go to this type of stuff. I think
I agree with that. Yeah.
When you just throw it up on like a TV screen,
you're right.
People who don't know what's going on will, like 9 times out of 10 in my experience, just check out. But buddies going and like, oh, you're going to this? Fine, I'll go to this too. Who cares? It gives an atmosphere that I think is energetic. I'm not saying every team needs to do this. I'm not saying we need a bunch of these, but I do think if 2026 goes by and there's not like a single org or a group of orgs working together to try and do something like this in North America, it's just kind of another failure of like trying to get people excited in the region.
I would be very interested to understand more about how this arena event came together and how they did it, because okay, like Connor, you proposing what would this need to look like? Like it happens during a best of 1 week where you have all 8 teams competing on stage over the course of the weekend?
I don't think it has to be like a best of 1 weekend. I mean, you could even take like a similar like a weekend like we just had with best of 3s, and you just have like 2 days of the best of 3s back to back. All 8 teams can play. If you want to do it to where it's like a 1-day event and you have like some really hype matchups at a roadshow, you can schedule around that to where you have like
so TL in this scenario.
In this scenario, Travis, like what the LEC did is for the Spanish show, they took the 4 orgs that are most closely tied to Spain, or at least the 2, and then the 2 biggest orgs in G2 and Fnatic, and they scheduled best of 3s among those 4 teams for the weekend. So only those 4 teams played this weekend.
Right.
Like, frankly, look, I really like that part of it. Like from a competitive aspect too. I think that all the teams would want to be involved in a weekend like this, but if it's like these 4 teams get to do this, and then you guys just get a week off to practice, like that doesn't suck. If you have multiple road trips like this, where hopefully teams can be a part of this, it would encourage teams to be a big enough brand to get thrown into, like lopped into an event like this, like G2 and Fnatic were, right? As teams that are not quite as closely tied to Spain, even though, to my understanding, like Fnatic has more ties now with their roster. Regardless, I mean, I think like what Khan's getting at is like we would trade, like obviously it beats the closet, like that's nothing. I think the real thing is like, would you trade off like more weekends in the closet for more road shows at this point, or like online play for more road shows? At this point, I think a lot of fans answer to that. It's leaning more towards yes, which I find interesting. They just want to have more experiences where they're in the arena because they see like more big events that were used to be in arenas that are not, and they're missing that opportunity. So it's like, how do we make this happen? I'm with Travis that it feels weird to have 2 regular season weeks be in arenas and then have the finals be in a studio. I do think that's awkward, but also like we'll take more roadshows, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what the solution would look like, because here's the thing. I don't think Shopify and Riot are going to team up to send 8 teams to Toronto for week 4 of the split 2 of the LTA regular season. I think that is very unlikely, and I worry about how many people would show up for it. Now, is there... I hate to even entertain this because I feel like it's very unlikely, but like the only thing I could imagine is like for split 1 finals, probably split 2, I guess, because split 1 has Brazil included. Like maybe some orgs take it on themselves to like host the finals, but that's really awkward if they're not in the finals. I also don't think any of the teams in LTA have like the fan base that could get that much
That's
of a
also true.
group out. Like it's just,
it would have to be
tough.
The league.
It's tough, Con, because I agree with you. I like, we were just talking about finals. Like I am worried that I might not be able to make split 2 finals because I had this misunderstanding of what the schedule was supposed to be like. But I'm also, part of me is like, well, I want to be there, but it's not like I'm missing, a chance to fly to like, I don't know, New York for a Madison Square Garden finals or something like that. It's like, yep, this will be in the studio, and it would feel to me like almost any other week in terms of coverage and my ability to interview people and all that type of stuff. And I feel like the hype for the audience will feel that way too. So it's like, I think these road shows are important, and I was really, really disappointed when they took them away last year. But it is also really difficult, especially looking at what viewership looks like this year and what the economics look like in North America. And when we start talking about like going to Canada, which have there's a reason why Riot hasn't gone to Canada in a very long time. There's a ton of production costs around. I think you have to use like Canadian production staff. It gets really complicated, and so like,
and then visas too.
Visas are like a huge thing right now, obviously. Yeah. So like I want it so bad. Like whenever I feel like sometimes on these calls I am seen as like being the negative Nancy or whatever. I want this to happen. It is hard for me to see the path by which it happens.
I can understand that. What I will say, even from my experience, just a couple years ago, being at the NA final in New York City area, New Jersey, there's a large amount of people that I think if you give them the option to watch even the regular season live, they will come out. Because think about it this way: North American League of Legends hasn't left LA for almost 2 years now for pro play. I think even when talking to people who went to the North American finals, the amount of people who were like, I didn't really pay attention to the split at all. I'm just happy that I get to see Pro League live again, and that's all I kind of wanted to go to. I know you're not going to be able to fill up the same size arena and stuff, but I do think in some of these bigger city areas and some of these more populated areas, teams can get out at least a decent 2,000 to 3,000 people in a live audience to give them something that they only have had a chance to get. Maybe
that's
once
true,
every 3 or 4 years.
But does the 2,000 to 3,000 people who show up to this actually move the needle much in terms of the league for how much they're spending on it, right?
Yeah, what Travis is just to go off what Travis is saying too. Travis is making a good point in the fact that this is being put on in theory by partnering with teams in the league, and those teams themselves have the draw to get 4 teams like this to fill up an arena. The regionalization power of K Corp and Mad Lions Koi is way greater than what we have for teams here in NA.
They do something that no team does. They invest back into their fans. There's a reason why
they also commit to a fan base, and you can do that. Again, native language.
You can do that.
We've had this
do that here too.
It's a lot harder to do it here.
Teams just don't invest in their fans at all here. There's a reason why I think FlyQuest became one of the more popular teams. When you saw somebody did the tracking of people who listed FlyQuest as their favorite team in the LTA Fantasy app. There's a reason why they've risen up to be almost as high as C9 and stuff. Is when you go back to the end of the Roadshow era of stuff, who was the only org putting on events for fans at these locations? FlyQuest. If you actually give investments back into fans, people will see that whether they're there or not and start carrying back into that team.
I think that they started getting more popular because they started winning.
They were also one of the teams spending money when a lot of other teams were not, which helps. I agree that the roadshows things like help. I mean, I had friends that went to the Chicago finals that were fans of Immortals till the day they died because they threw the best tailgate, right? So I think that Khan's speaking to like some things that I've seen with other fans as well. But I think that the challenges that Travis is bringing up in terms of like the things that would gatekeep or like prevent an event like this from being as successful, like it's a real difficulty for teams, and it's a lot harder to pull off here than it is for these other teams. Now, if it's a shortcoming of our teams, like not like position themselves to do that, I think that's completely fair, right? And definitely perks of the European market are the fact that you can really appeal to these fan bases with native languages and committing hard to just getting that fan base. And obviously Mad Lions, Koi, and K-Corp have really won the war in terms of who is winning those, nationalistic fan bases. So along with a lot of other fans along the way, right? Don't want to take away from that either. So I think that I would love to see it. I agree with all the challenges that Travis brings up in terms of it being very difficult to pull that off here in this ecosystem.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so tough. It's so tough because I want road shows, and I also just know how expensive they are. Look, I'll go back to like basically what I think my stance was on this stuff last year, which is like, look, if 100 Thieves wanted to host some cool event at their offices or whatever, I think that could be really cool if they wanted to partner with a brand and take it to like a nearby venue like the aircraft hangar at Santa Monica Airport and like take it out of the studio. I think that could be really cool. I have a hard time imagining like the sheer amount of people that you have to like hop on planes, including players and team staff and production people and camera people and all this stuff all going to another location for a random weekend. Like it's just tough. It's just really, really tough in 2025, which is a little depressing to say, but like, I don't know. But Khan, I appreciate the sentiment at the very least that like you're looking across the ocean and saying, I wish we had that. And it's something that I definitely feel as well. I think there are huge like cultural and structural and honestly geographical reasons why it's way easier to get that type of thing going in Europe than it is in North America. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine Shopify Rebellion flying people out for week 4 of Split 2, you know?
No, I mean, I get the feeling, but and I was even hypothetically doubtful with this effort when like seeing the fans turn out and like hearing like and knowing a lot of people out there like, man, I wish I had the chance to watch it. Like, give me the chance, I'll show up. I think it's a lot big of more of a thing that people will show up for. I'm excited to see how the Gen G and T1s ones go in Korea because they're also doing them this year too. They're doing road shows for their orgs in Korea.
Yeah. For what it's worth, by the way, all the LPL matches are played in 4 arenas in different towns that are owned by teams in their league too. So there's also precedent for this in other leagues as well. And we'll definitely be interested. I think Korea will get filled up. But yeah,
I think we lost our teams that had arenas.
Huh? Team WE, WE, NIP.
No, I was talking about in North and LTA.
Oh, none, to my understanding.
I mean, Dig technically, right? But we just were there. That was the last summer event. The 76ers.
Yeah. So, okay. So 76ers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, MSG was an old one.
All right. Anyway, thank you so much, Con, for the call. Anything you want to chat about, or anything you want to shout out here at the end?
Yeah. In case people didn't know, Disguise Toes in Disguise seemingly put out like a kind of looks like a Drive to Survive type video. As somebody who's been putting a lot of my personal beef, putting like, where is the Disguise content? Where is the Toes content? Like, I'll eat crow. Go out and support that if you're like me, who's been saying you want this type of stuff. You can't yell at it and then not support it when it comes out. That'll be my shout out for the week. Thank you for having me on.
That's a great shout, Con. I know that DSG pinged me after last week's episode and said, hey, we're working on this. Because I was like, hey, where was the Korean boot camp content? They covered that in this. and it's made by the person that did like the TSM Legends. It's they brought back Max, and it's supposed to be raw. I haven't tuned into the first episode yet, but I'm told they really didn't hold back or shy away from the fact that they're losing, and it might be controversial. So that was their outlook. Definitely am excited to see how it looks. But yeah, shout out to DSG. They put something out that hopefully fans will enjoy. So,
yeah. Yeah, it was funny too because when all that was happening last week, I saw Fiflaren, who helps run the org, like in the. I don't think he was talking in the chat, but I saw him on the user list. And so I wonder how much he had to hold back from typing in the chat, being like, "It's coming, it's coming, it's coming." Either way, yeah, it's good shout out, Con. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, thank you.
If and by the way, folks, if you are Redditors, maybe go consider talking about the show or the episode on the subreddit, because I see it up right now and it's got 6 comments, which is a little heartbreaking. But it's this is like the thing that always is annoying about the stuff is like people say, "Oh, we wish we had this content," and et cetera, and then you see it go up on like community sites and stuff like that, and it just doesn't get much engagement. And it's like, okay, do you want this content, or do you really want content from like your specific favorite team? So I do hope people will check that out. Either way, I think we can do a quick break right now to talk about NZXT, our sponsor. Thank you so much, NZXT, for sponsoring Hotline League. They've been with us for almost a year now. I think coming up on 11 months. We announced them in June of last year. They are such a wonderful partner. Numi's not here to put in the thing, so let's see if I can do it in the chat. There we go. In the chat right now, you'll see links and a code that you can use to go save 5% off your order of an NZXT PC. Stay tuned because I'm working on a fun little, it's like a simple video, but it will be kind of cool to show off the unboxing of that PC that I told everybody that they sent me last week. So I'm really looking forward to going over that and sort of revealing it. It's cool that I'm getting a new PC from NZXT, and we'll be using that to power Hotline League and the content that I'm creating. So thank you so much to NZXT for sponsoring the show. They've got amazing deals, not just on gaming PCs, but also on components. I know a lot of you like to build your own PCs. That was a thing that I received a lot of feedback with previous PC partners, was people would say like, "Hey, like Travis, I'd love to support you, but I've been building my own computers for like the last 10 or 15 years or something." Well, now you can still support the show by using their components whenever you build your next PC. You can go check out their cases, their fans, their CPU coolers, etc. Fantastic opportunities over there. And then they also have gaming gear like keyboards and mice as well, if you want to check out any of that. So again, thank you so much to NZXT for supporting the show. If you're watching on YouTube after the fact, or you're listening to the podcast, you can go find a link to the website, nzxt.co, not com, co/Travis. And then make sure you use code Travis5 when you check out. That's how they know that we sent you, and also how you save some money. So thank you to NZXT for sponsoring the show. All right. Want to get into the next call. Cubby just went off to go grab them. Thank you to Shaunatonin for 78 months, 6.5 years, says Shaunatonin. That is crazy. Kelby May sent a Prime. I am shocked that he has a Prime to send me. This man watches so many streams. I'm honored that he sent it to my way. 2 years from Kelby. To Monster, Musvane, Marcus Man 6RL, and then ENS Hero. Thank you, everybody. Over on YouTube, we've got Icebreaker Mints and Bug Juice Reviews, who came in as members. Thank you to both of them for supporting the stream. Appreciate it. The YouTube memberships are always really appreciated. There's a lot fewer of those than on Twitch these days, but I do appreciate all you guys coming through. And if you are just becoming a YouTube member, go vote on the poll, because I'm going to be recording a members only video tomorrow, and you get a chance to say what you would like to see me talk about in that video. We got MBT here. MBT, where are you calling from?
Hey guys, calling from Chicago, Illinois. Little
Chicago.
Hometown crowd with Cubby here.
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody coming from Chicago. That's a rough
Nah,
spot.
absolutely zero. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
What do you want? What do you want to talk about on the show?
So I've got a take on more so on the games for this past week. I've kind of been in and out of watching, but seeing the Dignitas versus Shopify Rebellion game really got me buying into this whole Dignitas kind of roster experiment thing they've got going on with Surdy and and you not Yuji, Shaden, sorry, wrong up and coming talent. It's just with 100 Thieves kind of getting smacked around by FlyQuest, and with the pros episode of Isles talking about their new coaching method, how it's more so, I guess, LCK-esque, has me thinking that 100 Thieves might be slipping down further than we might think with how they have been placed regularly throughout the season, and that Dignitas might be on the way back up.
Oh wow! So this is a 100 Thieves hater call.
Yeah, a little bit of a 100 Thieves hater call. Hopefully, I don't get put into one of the David Shynock edits or whatever they are.
Oh god, you can't say his name because then it's like a
No.
Spidey senses somewhere. He's
the first call was definitely for him. The second call I didn't realize was for him as well. You know.
All right, whatever. Anyway, so 100 Thieves sucks. Dignitas is good. Agree or disagree, Cubby?
I don't know if this Dignitas series was enough to like totally sell me. I mean, look, these games were still not clean. I thought that the broadcast talking about how the SR Dignitas matchup was going for gold, silver, and bronze in terms of longest games that we have in the LTA, the split, which it did hit, as it was a pretty long series. I think for me, too, the Dignitas drafts were actually pretty decent, or like they just had a better way to play them out. I think the takeaway for me was just more concerned for SR after that series, because I felt like the addition of Demonte for me, like to that team, was okay. I respect Demonte and like his game knowledge, but I think he's really good at working with players in terms of soft skills, right? Like we're gonna play confident, we're gonna play like aggression, we're gonna come out and like try and be our best selves all the time, and if not, it's okay. I think he's sometimes really good at working with teams, just try and get better stuff out of people. And when I looked at SR in that series, like, I mean, they had multiple sequences where like they're just waiting for multiple waves to like hit Baron when Surdy's just taking stuff on the other side of the map. Like they can't even just tickle the Baron to like draw to TP or like put pressure on Dig. I was honestly really concerned, and it feels like Contracts is the one player that's kind of showing up on that team, and I don't think he has enough help on that SR squad. So a little bit more concerned for SR. I think that with Dignitas, Surdy got 2 drafts in the back half of the series that he definitely could have carried. I think Renekton is really strong in the first draft. There were some changes made to Renekton, which helps him a little bit later. He still is not the best scaler, but Renekton scales, like I say, a lot of times off of how many melees can be on the game. Surdy made really good use of that. And then his Aatrox flanks and angles that he took in that game 3 pretty much won Dignitas the game as well. So I think that's a bright spot for Dignitas in terms of them going up against 100 Thieves. I feel like when I watch Dig, there's too many instances where like they can get leads earlier, like they'll play okay, and then I'm just waiting for them to lose or like make a mistake to lose. That's what game 1 was. That's what game 2 almost was, right? And I need to see them actually close out some of these leads they have. But it's like I wouldn't put them over 100 Thieves yet, but I still put them at 5. I still think they're the best team, like better than Lion too. So
oh no, Cubby
I
is
still have them
leaving
there.
Lion behind.
I still have them there.
Well, you had Lion number 5, right? For a while.
I did, but I've said for like both split 1 and 2, I thought Dig would be the most likely team to compete with the top 4.
Yeah.
I still believe that, even if Lion were playing better.
Okay. But from a couple weeks ago when you were a Lion believer, you have
I'm out.
You're no longer a Lion believer.
Oh. Yeah. I'm out.
Yeah, it's so sad. It's so sad. I don't want to make this a Lion tangent, but
yeah, Saint's good, but he needs some help.
Yeah.
Saints in jail on that roster.
Yeah.
So we're now in the Dig is 5th best team behind Team Liquid is what you're saying. No, I'm just kidding. Behind 100 Thieves.
I mean, TL 4th, we have to go with the memes, right, Travis?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I don't know. What do you make of this caller? Do you think that Cubby's in the wrong here?
I mean, no, I can kind of get behind some of the arguments posed by Cubby about why Dignitas might be a little bit iffy on what they can do, but I just think with how just routinely I see 100 Thieves just kind of go brains off and hands on with every game that I feel like they play, and when they play against a team with good macro, which I wouldn't go as far as to say Dignitas is that right now, but I think knowing that they're going to be taking 100 Thieves, if not in a 2-0 fashion, at least to 3 games, they can dictate the tempo on how they want to play on their win conditions against the Thieves. And I think that when you get rid of 100 Thieves' ability to just outhands you, which I think is what happens pretty much every time to play against a good team, which now that's going to be Dignitas, they're going to get smacked around. So,
I mean, to be fair, like for me, Dignitas after 15 minutes is brain off too. Again, I think that there are too many instances where I think that their mistakes are like actually decently fixable. Like there's too many instances where they take the wrong play, or like Tomo's getting caught in just a super illegal spot, which is an issue that Tomo's had in the past, right?
yeah.
I see that team get a lead, and I'm just waiting for them to throw. But that team does get leads. I just think that Shaden and Isles need to be a better unit in order for that team to like get legitimate looks over 100 Thieves. I still feel like 100 Thieves, and even in that matchup, like I think Kina has decent hands, but I would very much favor River and Quid. And I still think that Shaden needs to show more this split, because I think that him and Isles, like that unit, just hasn't been strong outside of lane. And Dig has had other issues too. Like, again, carries can't get caught. But they need to really fix issues past 15 minutes for me to consider them over 100 Thieves. Because, yeah, 100 Thieves, sometimes they are brains off, hands on, but they play out later scenarios and team fights much better than Dignitas still, for me to put Dig over them.
I will say that I do think, as strange as this is to say, there's a pretty good chance that 100 Thieves and Dig is like the match of the week this weekend. Because we got Fly SR on Saturday, TL DSG on Saturday. Maybe DSG will do some crazy upset. I don't know. 100T Dig and then C9 Lion. And I guess it would be between C9 and Lion, but I don't feel like that's going to be particularly interesting. So I feel like 100T Dig is like the highlight of this weekend. I don't know what you think.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be. Yeah. I mean, again, I'm hopeful. I thought that Surdy like put up a pretty decent series. I think that one thing I will say, I think that Surdy's actually been much better than like where fan sentiment is. I know that in lane he's been questionable at times, which like fans were coming in really expecting him to like smash that part of the game. I do think he's been a lot better at other parts of the game that have sometimes like just not been noticed because he's a top laner playing from behind or on a losing team. But for me, like his decision tree is actually pretty good later, and like how he's able to impact the map and plays. I think that he's a lot better at that than where I had him as someone that, you know, had Surdy in the league for a while. So that gives me a little bit more hope for Dig. It probably is the match of the week. I'm still going to favor 100 Thieves, but again, I think that Dig for me is still the most likely team to compete with the top four. And also, don't get fooled by, you know, anything about Korean coaching styles, because A, Rigby's been doing that in like every team he's been in, and B, it's just however you can get most effective. I know that I talked with Surdy after their win. He said the vibes are a little bit better over there. So that was good, because he thought like the vibes were pretty tough behind the scenes at Dig, but he said vibes are better. So hopefully that helps out with Dig moving forward too.
Yeah. Okay, so what happens in BT if this weekend 100 Thieves like thrashes Dignitas?
Well, in that case,
Kind of like how TL thrashed Lion, you know?
Yeah, I would think it's probably. I mean, as like obviously, I don't think this will happen, but if in some universe it does,
in some universe, say kind of. Is that crazy that it could happen?
Well, maybe not. I'm a big Dignitas guy ever since Scara and Cutie Pie. So whatever team they kind of put together, I'm gonna root for them. That's fair. Kind of that goes into how I think they will win. And so like if they will get thrashed, I think it'll be like Cubby's saying with River and Quid kind of just putting Shaden and Caney, I believe if that's right, just in a box and just putting them to work. But I think if Shaden and Isles are kind of, I feel like as they get more games in, they figure out how to play around each other's strengths and weaknesses and breaking points. So I think if they are able to take out a little bit of pressure from the mid lane and put some resources towards their super carry top and Surdy, and maybe stop Tomo from inting in mid, that's how they'll stop getting thrashed. But if they get smacked around, then that'll be a tough scene to watch, I guess.
Yeah,
we'll see.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Gotta have hope. Hopefully, it pays off more than line hope. You know.
Anything you want to shout out here at the end?
Yeah, I've been a long time listener on Spotify. It's my first time calling in, so I appreciate y'all having me on the show. And shout out to the show and the sponsors. I've been watching since I was a freshman in college, and now I'm in law school. So it's just crazy to get the whole turnaround going. So thanks for hosting the show and giving me something to listen to when I work out.
Thanks for calling in.
I'm glad you spent all that time in school. You're in law school now, and you've finally gotten to the point where you're like, all right, fuck it, I can call in now. You've made it to that, that level of confidence. No, thank you so much. Best of luck on the bar exam, and we'll catch you next time.
Cool.
Yeah,
Have a good night.
Thanks.
You too.
That's a fun one. All right.
That was fun.
Thank you to our callers, but thank you to let's see, we got ENS Hero, thank you for the Prime. Bowen with the 500 bits. Thank you, Bowen. How's it going? Rhodey is here with the Prime. Rhodey, a person who told me how much he loves Magic the Gathering after I invited him to his first event. And then last night he just didn't go to the second one that I invited him to. So it's really making me feel like, he just sort of led me on. A little bit of a robot. All right. Anyway, no, thank you. I'm just kidding, Rhodey. Thank you for the Prime. I appreciate it. We're waiting on Cubby to get back with the next caller. Big Brawler, thank you for gifting a sub. That's a great name, by the way. Rhodey says, brother, I had to clean for the friends I had in town, and I clearly communicated this to you. You didn't say clean, and also, you could have cleaned earlier. There's this, I think, what's the phrase? If he wanted to, he would. That's how I'm kind of feeling about this one right now. This is also me just vamping for time because Cubby is taking a long time to get back from the other thing, and I don't have I'm out of people to read off, so I'm just going to let everybody know how excited I am to make a video for members only over on YouTube. That'll be fun. That'll be coming out soon. Cubby's having... Okay, thank God. Whew. All right, Cubby's back. No, it's fine. I was running out of things to stall. I was making fun of Rhodey in the chat. All right.
We're patching a mic. It's all good.
Yeah. Okay, I know you've been on the show before, but remind me, is it pronounced MsTimed?
You got it perfect once again. Good job.
Thank you. And remind everyone where you're calling from.
Oh, I am calling from Washington State.
Washington State. What would you like to talk about on the show?
I want to talk about 100 Thieves. I really hated their second game draft. I don't know. Maybe you guys can explain it to me. Certainly, there are things I completely missed. But where is the synergy in MF, Bard, Ryze, and Fury? What is this team comp? What is it supposed to do? I don't know. I do really like. I mean, as the last caller was saying, their hands. I feel like they have actually, not just River and Quid. I mean, especially those two, but I feel like all of them have very good hands, and I think they could threaten still FlyQuest or C9. I think C9 especially. They've been the kryptonite so far, or at least the past couple of big moments. So I believe in 100 Thieves if they can clean up their draft, clean up their plan. I don't know what that plan was.
I think this is just that we're in another game that is victim, or another match that's victim to Fearless draft, right, Cubby?
Maybe. I mean, I will say that I pulled up the Game 2 draft. The Fury Ryze is a really nice combo the teams have been using, as you can try and make plays in the Fury. That rune prison's nice for the lockdown and the Fury are, and you can try and burst targets down. I think that where things get tricky is that MF, it can kind of struggle in the meatballs, which Sejuani was showing, and then they went for the Renekton, which is Bwipo's Renekton. I think that he deserves the context of Bwipo Renekton. He's very good in this champion. So I think the idea is that you have Tempered Fate against two slightly immobile carries, can try and bullet time over the top, create angles with Realm Warp and the Gnar, and that's the idea. But overall, damage profile is fine. I think the hardest thing is that the Sejuani Renekton they get beefy, and MF kind of struggles against that, and Ryze also struggles against that because you want to go for double stacking items early on, and that gave FlyQuest a pretty good window. And then when Victor gets bridged into the later stages of the game, he has a lot of range. But I still think 100 Thieves have ways to create angles. It's just that they needed to create angles, and they got behind pretty early in that game, which helped FlyQuest just take the map away from them. So their comp can really function.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they on any draft, there's always that hope that because the enemy team could always fuck up, right? So it's easy enough to, but I don't know. I think what maybe bothered me the most is because the order they went for it. They went for the Neferi first, I think, as the power pick, and then I think they tried to pivot halfway through, and it didn't work very well. I didn't like the MF especially because the MF came later. I would have because Quid showed Silas at one point, and I think his Silas is top notch, and that would have he already had two good He already
Okay.
had the Sejuani, I think. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think just like that they, especially against the team that they're going up against, I feel like they don't do enough in what they want to do, and it's just too. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not focused enough on what on how they're going to win the game, what the win con is.
I can kind of see that. I mean, I definitely think that, like, if I'm in the 100 Thieves perspective, I see Victor, and it's like, okay, we're just going to try and play fast this game when you go Rise MF, right? Because you're going to get outranged, and, like, it's going to hurt later on. I just think that, like, the rest of the pieces they put around the Victor was too good of a bridge. And also, like, I don't think that Ezzyez ever, like, really super pressured to, like, press R enough this game. A lot of the times in the LPL right now, like, where Zaya's been a little bit more popular, we're seeing Zaya taken where, like, obviously you get R value, but then sometimes, like, the other team just has to take enough things where you can get Zaya R out because that's a really long cooldown, and then try and play from there, where she doesn't have that, and it's a lot better for the fight, right? She can't just go up in the air.
Okay.
It's really only, like, Tempered Fate that I think Zaya has to R immediately. I also think Nefiri can kind of struggle into double meatballs if she gets behind. So I'm kind of with you. Like, I don't think this is a, like, great draft for 100 Thieves. I prefer the FlyQuest side, but I do think there are ways that 100 Thieves can play it out. They just need to, like, really be disciplined about how they use their tools and set up with Tempered Fate. Like, Tempered Fate against 2 immobile carries is... You see a lot of teams run that, right? It's doable. They just couldn't find the angles.
So specifically, game 2 was, like, the stompiest game of the weekend, I think. FlyQuest just kind of... I mean, it was close to a perfect game. It was not a perfect game. But, like, do you...
They got
I know you just talked about it.
Yeah.
I know you just talked about it for a little bit, Covey, but, like, how much do you think the draft, like, could they have done, like, could they have just drafted something that was a little bit easier to execute and that game would have gone much better for them? I don't know.
I think that you don't take MF on 3. Because I think that really puts you in the box of we have to play early, and then it enabled FlyQuest to, like, grab meatballs or stuff that can deal with bullet time, just because it was taken too early. So I think that's the swap I would have made. But I like Rise to Fury. Like, and Rise into Victor is playable. You just have to... You're kind of on a clock, so you kind of have to play for side lanes. I do think that the Renekton pick was really nice for FlyQuest. Maybe... I mean, you could blind for Sniper there and just pick your top side, but you're still going to get countered, which, I mean, it's kind of okay. You could just slam... I don't see the Fearless picks. Like, if Alistar's up, you could just... I think Alistar's real power pick and just slam that. Not a lot of teams doing that right now. So, yeah.
Isn't Gnar one of the most blindable tops?
No, not really, but Rise or Gnar into Renekton's fine. It's just that, again, it's Whippo Renekton, and I feel like he earns that context. Like, his Renekton's really good.
I see.
Yeah.
Does this help you feel
definitely sold...
Oh, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, you've definitely sold me on Rise and Fury. I think I'm just an MF hater, Heike.
A lot of people are. I don't blame you. I think as a team, if you're going to play MF, you definitely have to be good enough at playing early and rotating around the map, and I would challenge a lot of the NA teams on being able to, like, do that, like, cleanly.
Kind of like Lucian, or...
No, Lucian, you actually scale better with, like, Milio right now. Like, your mid game is really good. When you get to mid, you pretty much just guarantee mid prio.
Oh, yeah.
MF, it's just like she struggles into tanks. It's like with Sejuani already showing and taking MF there, it kind of enabled, like, the second meatball in Renekton. Because you go BT, it delays, like, your crit and some other items, like LDR potentially, which helps dealing with tanks, and her kit's just not the best for dealing with tanks, right?
Right,
so,
yeah.
The I will say, MsTimed, you have support from that FlyQuest person who called in a couple weeks ago. She's in the chat, and she says, "Bro, get MF off my screen. I hate LTA MF gameplay. Every other region plays her fine, but my eyes are in pain when I see DSG draft Scary Jerry MF into the most unplayable comp ever."
It's true. Even LPL doesn't play it fine. MF has, like, a 35% win rate, and only some teams, like, should be able to play it. Your AD also has to have balls and, like, be able to walk up and actually make use of the BT first.
Right.
So that's also true.
Has everyone forgotten about Ashe, or am I crazy?
No, they have forgotten about Ashe. You are not crazy.
Okay.
That's a good question, actually. I don't know why Ashe is completely evaporated. They did nerf her a bit, but they gave her buffs back, and I feel like Ashe should be back.
Yeah. Well, especially if ever, because I don't know, people talk about Callisto like it's this problem, but like, just respond as long as it's not some crazy last pick that you didn't plan for.
I mean, if you watch Callista in LCK or LPL, it is a problem. But if you watch it in LTA, it's not a problem. I think that there are like thematic counters you can take too, like Talia Poppy that really hurt Callista. But kind of like Ashe is another one. You were correct in that, yeah.
Outranger.
Yeah,
He just wants to
I
duel
mean,
you.
that's an option. It was a problem in that Dig SR game just because like there are fights where if Callista can't die, she just wins the fight, and that's kind of what happened in the late game. For that SR Dig game, right? Callista just had meatballs around her. She couldn't die, and then she carries the fights.
That's true. Yeah. Kind of like Vayne.
MsTimed, thanks so much for calling in. Anything that you want to shout out here at the end?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to shout out GBA99, who has made a lot of like docu-series on Pro League of Legends over the years. He's back. He went away for a while, but he's been making videos again. I liked his most recent one. I'd also like to just shout out my mom for loving and accepting and helping me. Mother's Day is coming up. You have been warned. It's not this Sunday, but it's soon.
Thank you for reminding me. I got to get on that.
I got you. And final shout out. I found the song I was raving about last time from Champion Select called The One by Cairo. Easily findable on YouTube. Anyone who loves percussion like I do, this song slaps. I'm saying it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time. All right. We have time for another call, I think, before we take our second break of the show.
So hope this mic is working.
Yeah. Thank you to Maine for a tier 2 sub. Oh, you love to see it. Thank you to Maine. Really appreciate it. Kanoke for the 61 months. It looks like Big Boy Brawler 80, which is just a great name. Big Boy Brawler 80, have you been? Where are you? Can I I want to see how long you've been in this chat, because I feel like maybe you name changed recently. Should I be recognizing your name? You've been very active tonight. All right, you've been following since August 31st, 2020. Okay, well, that's embarrassing for me. I'm going to own that one. A little bit of an L. Okay, all right. We've got Ezzyez here. Ezzyez? Ezzyez. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Ezzyez.
Oh, I tried. Okay, Ezzyez. Where are you calling from?
I am calling from Kansas.
Kansas. What do you want to talk about on the show?
I want to talk about I think TL have placed themselves in an impossible position by enabling Spawn to be a part-time coach. We all know remote coaching is bogus. And now kind of the scapegoating of the players, / creation of a 6-man is really just making everything worse.
All right, you want to expand on it a bit?
Yeah, so I think we have camera documented proof on saying that he's ineffective. Remote coaching is just kind of BS. Doesn't really work. I feel like we've seen enough proof, especially, split one playoffs. TL was a completely different team. Flew in, saved the day. Really turned everybody's heads on straight. I didn't really know about the UG news. I mean, that's pretty cool for Dark Zero. Been watching a little bit of the Salt League, but I think Umpty still has had some great games. He's just wildly inconsistent. That's really kind of seen across all the players of the team, though. I think that's kind of more indicative of a larger problem, like coaching. And really, I don't think there's ever been really a good example of like a 6-man in LCS, like LTA North. Like Impact and Ray, sucked. It was just really Impact. I think like Easy Hoon and Faker was like the only good 6-man that I can remember.
The only good one? I feel like I know that there was at least a couple that
C9 2018.
Yeah. I was thinking of
C9. The 7-man or the 2 duos, yeah. Obviously CFO recently. SKT with Blank and Bengi. And Easy Hoon and Faker for that matter.
Yeah, Blank and Bengi, that was a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. That's true.
Fnatic, when they put Whippo at AD for that one stupid ass meta worked.
So your main.
True, but that was.
Oh, good.
But okay, but your main crux of this, like kind of what you put in the Discord, is that you think that the UG 6-man happened because the coaching was remote, and that this doesn't actually fix the problem. Like the big problem is the fact that their coach is remote.
Totally. That's the thesis.
Okay. Travis, I've gone first the last couple times.
No, I know. I'm trying to think about how to tackle this because it's so hard. Like, okay, the challenge is, this is the consistent challenge whenever anytime I have to talk about coaching on this episode or on the show. I can't say whether or not Spawn is ineffective as a remote coach. Like, is it a thing where if he's yelling at them in person versus over Discord that like they're going to be more motivated, or that they're going to feel like it's going to lock in or hit closer to home or something? Like,
let's assume that at minimum there is some difference, right?
Yeah, I do think that there's got to be some drop off, right? And I think that's
for
fair.
Sure. That is fair. Yes.
But I believe that you were saying, caller, that you feel like remote coaching is bogus, which implies that like you think that it's like ineffective entirely. Like what is your impression? Like, is it a thing where there's like it's like 10% less effective? It's like 100% less effective? Like where do you see the drop off in terms of a coach being able to be unable to help somebody remotely?
No, I think that's a good thought. I don't really know like a certain percentage where it happens, but I do know it's just like enough to crumble kind of what's going on at TL to the point where everybody's kind of questioning.
I mean, to be fair, as wild as it seems with TL, I'll just add this for context too. I mean, Spawn said he's like Big Brother, right? Like he has cameras everywhere. That might sound creepy, but that actually helps. Like you do need to see all the interactions that your team's having. Like that is the kind of stuff that you would usually miss if you were remote. So it feels like they've done stuff to close the gap as well, which I think is kind of worth noting, right?
That's fair. I do think though we got him on camera. He said it himself that remote coaching is just not the same. He doesn't get the same connection with the players.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, I definitely it's got to be true, right? Like
for sure.
I am a big believer that like you could just go for a walk with a player if something is heated, and you can talk it out while you're walking through a park or something near.
And we just had an interview from LTA South. I believe a player, they were like asked like why they're playing better of late, and they're like soju. They just been drinking shit. Or it was LCK. I think it was like one of the teams was asked why they're playing better, and it's like we're just drinking soju together and having fun. Which I will say, like in teams past, like that was the old death method. I mean, like if their teams were like really struggling, I mean, he was known for like taking players out and just like go drink and like figure it out. Yeah, it was Morgan who said it. Thank you, whoever was in the chat.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody on that team is able to drink legally yet. Is APA? No, APA can now, I think, right?
But again, like just pointing to like that is an in-person interaction. That,
I just I want to make sure we weren't endorsing underage drinking. Cubby,
that's fine. Yeah, we are not.
No, it's not fine. Underage drinking is not fine, Cubby, and I want to be clear.
Well, it's fine that we're making sure that we aren't endorsing that, Travis. You're doing your homework.
I'm just fucking with you.
I know. I'm trying to make sure that the FBI is not watching this. And I'm
okay. Listen, the FBI is not going to come after you for that. Okay, so back to the Spawn thing. I have read many people who have this sentiment, and I'm just going to say it because I feel every time I've read it, I'm like, I completely agree with that. The team should not drop off that bad when Spawn's not there. Like, I think they make mistakes that they shouldn't be making, even if they didn't have a coach. Like, they are oftentimes just like basic plays. And I think this past weekend, I interviewed Busio. The interview's up on the channel. And one of his things was that he feels like there's a lot of pressure on these players, and that they are making plays and decisions that they would not be making if they did not feel that pressure. And I think that is, for me, probably something that is more likely to be the case. And I think Spawn can be a component in that, because I believe that, like, seemingly the way Spawn coaches, I mean, we've seen clips and stuff like this before, is like him just fucking going in on somebody. And if that gets results, and like the mental health people that work with the team are feeling fine with how things are going, then like that's good. But there's a very good chance that like that is less maybe there's a world where you get the pressure, but you don't get sort of the valve release that occurs afterwards whenever somebody like a coach can go walking with you. So I do think there's a chance that like Spawn not being there is part of the struggle, but I also think that some of this is just like the players seem to be spiraling a little bit, and there's probably more and more mounting pressure because they feel themselves slipping and they feel themselves getting worse, and it's continuing. So I think that it is not just a Spawn issue. I think they need to figure out a way to reset, and that's what part of the reason why I think like the UG thing could end up being helpful. I mean, I've talked about in past episodes when we talked about TL that sometimes you just kind of need like a vibe reset, and I don't know how much they're going to be able to practice with him if he can't be here or what the visa situation is, but like I don't know. I'm hopeful that like something can get moving there because yeah, I do feel like it's probably like a pressure thing, which could be a little bit of Spawn, but it's probably not all of it. I don't know if they suddenly get better if Spawn returns, even though we've kind of seen that before. I think there's other stuff at play here.
I mean, there's that also. And I think that a lot of the Spawn conversation, like my issue of it, is that I think it discredits the other parts of the TL staff. And like, I mean, whenever Spawn wins, he always says it's a team effort, right? It's not just him. He might be the leader of that crew, but Swiffer's in there along with Rainover and Hatham, who are all very capable in their own right as well. I think sometimes this gets blown out of proportion. What I do like about the 6 man, I mean, look, the way that I look at this TL team is I don't care if Spawn's remote or not. There are things going on in that team where people are not performing. Does Spawn being remote have an impact on that? Maybe yes, maybe no. But regardless, like bringing in UG, I mean, that is going to shake things up, right? Maybe you need people to have that like poke in terms of motivation or that extra pressure of having someone there. Or maybe UG is just like straight someone they want to have in the building. All I can say about UG is that that guy is a really good player. So I think that any team that was going to get their hands on him, we've talked about, there have been a lot of junglers that have come up through the lower leagues. Jungle is always like viewed as being very deep in this region. I think it is, but at the same time, we haven't had a lot of junglers like actually challenge the likes of Blabber or Inspired, right? Like we haven't seen Shaden and XU and Tomio come into the league and like take the league by storm. They have been kind of like in or out. I will say that if anyone's going to be the most likely to challenge players like Blabber or Inspired, it is UG. And the fact that TL got their hands on UG, I think, is a great pickup. So I very much view this as TL would not make this decision if they think that it would hurt their chances of winning, because this is a team that I think needs to win with the roster that they have. They have won before, so I mean, what else do they have to achieve besides just winning more and being more consistent on the international stage, right? They feel like UG can help them get there. Yeah, make the decision now. We're at the halfway point of the split or of the year for all these teams. So I think this is the best time to make changes if you feel like you need changes going into split 3 and where the stakes get higher for these teams. So yeah, I don't think that this is a indictment on coaching or remote coaching. I think this is just the players are not performing, and TL feels like this is what they need.
I think the other way that this could get better is if they fucking hit rock bottom. They got to lose some more, Cubby. And then they can have like the big climactic moment of the movie where they all like something crazy happens. They all have a big conversation about it. The main character, probably APA, goes off and like
and then it's like, guys, we hit rock bottom. We need to go out and, at the advice of Lord Morgan, get some shoju.
Okay, again, are they
sort out all of our problems?
Yawn age. Oh, that doesn't work. Yawn age TL. 23. Okay. APA. We don't condone 23. Okay, we're good. Wait, Umti, right? Umti's been around forever. He should be fine.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
This was fine. Okay, he's 25.
Team shoju bonding,
Yes, exactly. They all
at rock bottom.
They all need to hit rock bottom. I mean, I'm only kind of joking about that. I think it's probably not been helpful for the team that they are like usually winning, even though they look bad. Like they're the worst best team in the league, and so I feel like it's probably really shitty because you can't actually reset by hitting rock bottom. I don't know where I'm going with this. I can't properly convey this, but I do mean it. I am honest. Like sometimes you need to just have everything go fucking wrong.
You need the lows to experience the highs.
Exactly.
Yeah, dog. Bring back Breaking Point Part 2.
Exactly.
Electric Boogaloo.
Hey, watch the DSG docuseries they're putting out. It's filmed by the same guy that did TSM Legends, and that was a team that was at rock bottom, you know?
Exactly.
What a sell.
All right, thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out here at the end?
Any other thoughts,
Absolutely.
too?
What's that?
Any other thoughts you have? Like, I didn't really give you a chance to respond to all that.
Yeah, I think you guys all have really good thoughts. I think where I kind of diverge, I think where my take kind of got a little wild, but like the 6-man thing, I think, in my mind, I think just it's more of a problem than it's, in terms of pressure for the players than it's, solving the problem. I'm really fucking up here, but it's not solving the problem. It's just adding more pressure. I think esports, full of 20-year-old, hopefully 21 plus for drunk streams, are full of weak mental folks, myself included, and it's it adds more to the problem. I think I kind of agree with Medios and his kind of he said it on a number of times with kind of his thoughts on training your replacement, but that's kind of my thought. But either way, I got some shout outs. So long time Spotify enjoyer, first time caller, God bless. Shout out NZXT and PrizePicks. Mr. Lags, the OG, got permabanned, but we still got 2, 3, and 4 out here doing it. And shout out Mark Z, degrading himself to streaking now since being abandoned by TGI. You hate to see it, but you kind of love to see it also.
He's got to do what he can to get the action going. I think LTA fans
and Tom
sponsorship.
Shoe. What happened to that
hopefully.
guy? I really miss Tom Shoe.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Actually, shout out Tom Shoe.
Tom Shoe is quite the throwback.
That is a throwback, man.
Maybe
I also miss Tom Shoe.
Harassing Valorant people.
I hope so. That community could use a Tom Shoe, though.
Yeah.
We could all use a Tom Shoe.
True. All right. Thank you. Oh, you know what? We're going to take a quick break to talk about PrizePicks. Our caller just shouted them out, and we have a fancy little video that I've made. I've aired it a couple times, but you can all watch this now, and we'll see you on the other side. This video is brought to you by PrizePicks, the best place to win cash while watching your favorite esports or sports. So I'm going to show you right now how this works on the app. It's super easy to use. So maybe I like Jojo Pyun at more than 9.5 deaths over the first 3 games of his series. And maybe I believe Mickey X is going to get less than 31 assists. I'll go ahead and hit finalize lineup, where it'll show me that if both these things end up coming true and I play an entry fee of, let's say, $20, I'm going to end up winning $60. PrizePicks is available in over 40 states, including California and Texas. And if you sign up, use that link below. It's a big thing that you can do to help me. You can use code Travis whenever you make your first lineup of $5 or more. Win or lose, they're going to give you $50. Now, please only choose to play PrizePicks if you can do so responsibly, but doing so and signing up does help my channel very much. And you can actually join the discussion with other TGI viewers in my Discord. We have a PrizePicks channel. If you're trying to get into it, that's a great place to start. So thanks so much to PrizePicks for sponsoring this piece of content. All right. Thank you so much, PrizePicks. Again, really want to shout them out. Please use the link that I will put into the chat right now, because Numi is unfortunately in Australia, shirking her duties for her main job, for her secondary.
Feeding red pandas. Who the hell would do that instead of their job?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's,
Yanya
I
says,
don't know if you're
God.
supposed to feed them. We don't know. But either way, thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring. You can use the link to go sign up. There is some. We were just using PrizePicks, playing PrizePicks last week as we were looking through some of the matches. Unfortunately, Lucid did not play, but there was a really awesome match that Adam over in the PrizePicks channel put in there. So please go check out the PrizePicks channel. Say hi. Do whatever you want to in the Discord. Discord.gg/Travis. Really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you so much to PrizePicks for sponsoring this show. All right. Cubby sent me a giant wall of text. I will have to catch that later.
Oh, no, that's nothing. I got the next caller.
All right. I will check that in a bit. Cubby did not send me it. He screenshotted something and sent it that way. iNuber, thank you for the 40 months. Big Brawler 80, thank you for gifting a sub. I believe I shouted out to Main and Kanoke. Yeah, I did. If anybody's looking to support Somebody, Basil, in the chat is just begging left and right for a sub. She's really struggling. So if anybody can help her out. Wait, did Big Boy Brawler help her out? I don't know. Maybe I missed it. Nope. Okay. Anyway, Mihir is here. Mihir, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from probably like less than 10 miles away from you, Los Angeles, California.
Okay. I don't. That sounds like a threat.
Nice talks. Nice talks.
Yeah.
It depends on how the rest of this call goes. We'll see if it's a dub or not.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we always knew this would happen. I thought it would happen during Mark's era, but it's time for us to end the show. No. Mihir, what would you like to talk about on the show?
So I want to discuss a little bit of the Collegiate NACL partnership we've seen with Maryville. But before I get into my take, I actually did a little bit of research before I got on call, so I want to give my context before. So this will all make sense during my take, but I just want to list these facts. So the median rent in LA is over $1,800, and the average age of rookies we see promoted is anywhere from 20 to 22. Whereas in Berlin, the median rent is between $700 and $1,000, and in Seoul, it's between $500 and $900. There's obviously outliers on both sides, but basically what I'm trying to highlight is the cost of living is much higher in Los Angeles than Berlin or Seoul, which is a home of the LEC and also LCK. And the reason I bring this up is because we're seeing a higher average age in terms of the people we see promoted. Surdy was 23 at the time of his promotion. Yuji, who's rumored to TL, is 22. Yon was 22 when he promoted. And Moss and Sniper are some outliers. But for the most part...
They're still part of the system, though.
Yeah, they were part of the system, but I'm talking about specifically Tier 1, making it Tier 1. The average age of someone who promotes to LTA in Tier 1 is significantly higher than LEC. Calliste is 18, Vladdy's 19, Skumon's 20. In LCK, the moment you turn 17, you're getting first team shouts. So the reason I bring this up is because I think the system that Maryville has with Dark Zero in the NACL is probably the most seamless, and in my opinion, kind of the direction I want to see the NACL take, because no one can really live off of an NACL salary. So oftentimes you see people choosing between life or trying to go pro, barely making ends meet. So for me, I really want to see more investment in the Collegiate NACL partnerships. Dark Zero partnered with Maryville. Why Can't Blue Water partnered with UCI or something like that. I want to see that kind of relationship nurture in the future.
I feel so bad for Brandon Sanderson that no one mentions his company in association with Maryville, even though they're still associated. That Dark Zero thing just fucking snaked him. All right, Cubby. This is definitely. I know you've gone first on a couple of these, but I don't know of one that makes more sense for you to go first than this one.
I mean, okay, so everything that Mihir said, there's been some conversation about this going on for the Tier 2 space, but hey, why not just partner up with colleges? Because as Mihir said, and for perspective, the average rent in LA, if it's $1,800, or at least median, your average salary right now in NACL is you're making $1K a month if you're not on one of these top teams, right? So it's really hard to do this, and at the time that is required to do this for a pro player, as you're just not compensated enough. The other idea is that in colleges, and I've said this on the show with Maryville and Dark Zero, they have a building where they have great culture. And I said when Jerry got promoted, it'll be a challenge for him to go from Maryville to Disguise because it's not the same building and culture. They play out of an apartment building and they have to set their own culture, figure out what their team's going to be. Whereas Maryville, they have multiple teams competing in the same arena and have a defined culture that they have been able to set for years on end to get players to the state where now that is viewed as the place that you go to for multiple games if you actually want to go pro in a game. You can continue your education and you can actually move up because they help you do that, right? The environment right now, if you're competing to try and make it into the LTA and you're not a part of a college, is you're playing out of your bedroom for $1K a month and really lacking a lot of social interaction that I think is almost just as important to going pro as it is actually be good at the game. I mean, when I did my old podcast, the Raising an A thing, where we brought out some pros early on, I brought out APA, he was one of our first guests. And I for that, I'd pick players up and drop them off, right? Because it was their off day. They were choosing to spend with us. And that entire conversation on the way back, me and Ian talked about how his time at Maryville was great for his experience now because he realized that he could be more of an adult than some of the other people that were like in his building and academy, right? He's like, hey, I can handle my own life. I had to figure out how to do that with college, with a bunch of other people, where I had to do that. And was talking about like his friends that he still had on campus. And when he would go boot camp there in the off seasons, he was able to catch up with friends, and also like that was like a great scenario for him because he was pretty much like helping or like coaching that team while he was there too, and could still like work on his professional craft and be in a spot where like he's really comfortable. So I like Mihir is approaching this at the perspective of why don't we try and do this for other teams, or just try and build this out of Collegiate. And from a student or player perspective, it is at this point 100% better for them to have a way to continue their education and to try and continue to pursue this, because doing it on your own is just not worth the risk right now. And also, like, what Mihir is saying is also like these players that are now older that are coming into being a pro compared to like where Masu and Busia were. I mean, part of that is because that these are players that have to make these decisions now. Surdy was at UCI talking about how he was, taking calculus quizzes like while he was in queue for solo queue, or like while he was playing pretty much. That they have to delay doing this because they can't delay their life like they used to. Yeah, there were some other comparisons that I was going to make as to why it's important to have tier 2 stuff, but pretty much like the idea is that this would be a better and safer infrastructure for students and players than what we have now, where you just get 1K a month and you're kind of at home. So
no, I think safer infrastructure is like when you just have a random tier 2 team that people sign up for, then they don't vet who runs it, and then it just collapses.
Yeah. That was an issue too with multiple teams this offseason. So
I know. That's the funny thing to me was, right, it's like, oh, we're going to move to this model. And I was like, there's a reason you moved away from this model. Surely you will have put in some sort of restrictions or guidelines to stop this from being the same thing it's always been whenever you have unvetted organizations doing weird shit.
Like at this point too, just because of where League is in terms of the life cycle of the game, there are other colleges that are like, they prioritize other games outside of just League now. So the amount of League scholarships are probably going to drop off over time unless like Riot actually puts effort into working with the colleges or working with the system itself to try and build up some more teams. I think that some of the changes they made to CLOL have been really nice to me here for like what it's worth in the past. And this would have to be direction from the LTA North teams as well, but definitely ways that Riot could encourage this and try and build it up, or continue to try and build it up.
If I could also like add on my take a little bit more, I'm not saying that this should account for every single team in NACL. I actually don't know how many there are off the top of my head. I believe it's more than 10. Oh, is it 10?
There are 10. Yeah. There are 2 that are currently partnered with colleges. The other one being Supernova with Ole Miss. Yeah, and then Winthrop's in there on their own. So 3. Yeah. My bad.
So for me, it's like, I'm not saying that every single org, because that does also kind of force players who are for example, the Luminosity roster, they would have to go back to school to participate in this system. So I'm not advocating for necessarily 10 out of 10 teams.
Yeah.
But why not 6 out of 4 or even 5 out of 5? But like you mentioned, Ole Miss, Supernova, those guys are pretty dang good, IMO. And obviously
not in the league, but yeah, they're able to do both, which is nice.
Yeah. So I think it's like there's a lot of merit. Obviously the logistics, the numbers, and unfortunately the money would have to be kind of approached by Riot. I don't think that these brands have that much power in this situation. Like I don't think Blue Water can go to Harvard and be like, we want your 5 best League players. I think if Riot can show the value to the colleges, I don't see why. Because again, if you also look from the college POV, on average, League players are some of the most intelligent, population, like the people who play League are very smart and pretty holistic students. Like me, for example, like I'm so fucking intelligent and also handsome. And it's like that has so much value to a place like Harvard. Yeah, I think it's like there's definitely ways to prove value to colleges, and I just feel like if we can get the scholarships rolling, it stabilizes tier 2 and makes it to where students don't have to worry about, hey, should I play for this team and not be able to pay my rent? Or I know a NACL player who literally has to sprint home from classes to be able to play in NACL.
Yes.
And he's going to miss a game very soon. They have to sign Cody-san as a sub.
Yes.
Because he can't, and to me it's like
we have players shouting out like professors for pushing tests back in our interviews right now.
And then, like, for me, like,
yeah.
sorry, excuse my language, like, that's so fucking stupid. Like, how is that even healthy for the scene? So
yeah. I mean, I'm very curious to see where this goes. I wish that what I would love to see from Riot is a more cohesive presentation on sort of their vision for tier 2 long term, because I know, like, it feels like for a while they've just been sort of trying to, like, put the patches together and okay, here's how we're covering for, like, the mistakes that we made with letting all these teams drop all their
certain
teams.
Regions
like
just became tier 2 plans, right? Like Latin America is now just in tier 2 trying to promote. So
I feel like it would be cool to say to just be like, what is your long-term vision? Like, where do you see Collegiate and all this stuff, and how do you feel about the Maryville situation? Because I do think that is interesting. I am salty about the way that things went down with Brandon, but
you know about that one too?
I mean, like, I feel like it should be obvious. Like, we have Mihir on the show calling them Dark Zero Maryville, right? And they had, like, a title sponsor attached to it, and they not saying the title sponsor name. So yeah, I do feel like the more that we can kind of manage this, like, collegiate thing, the better for the players, especially because I just feel like all the support and safety and security around this stuff has gone away, and we need tier 2 in North America, even if pro teams don't feel like we do. So I don't know. I like your take, Mihir.
I again, like, just the importance of developing talent, guys. Like Yuji, the player like him that exists in LCK, it is Lucid. Like, that caliber of player is not recruitable by other regions. They're always going to be on LCK teams. Like, yes, we got Saint and Loki, but Zinni cannot leave LCK because an LCK team will take him. It's important to develop your own talent here, because you will not get the top talent in other regions. They will stay there. So you can't compete if you're not trying to develop your own talent here. So I do feel like this is really important for the esport too.
Thank you, Mihir, for the call. Anything that you would like to shout out here at the end?
So obviously I like to shout out the sponsors, PrizePicks and NZXT. I like to shout out myself. You're doing a wonderful job. And then I like to shout out, honestly, that's about it, honestly. I hope everyone has a good day.
Thanks
so much for the call.
Hope you have a good day too, boss.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right, last caller, Travis?
Yes, last caller. Thank you, Mihir, for always being so humble. Slawcat, thank you for the 24 months. And then Big Boy Brawler, thank you for gifting us up to Basil Leafs. She's been active in the chat all stream, just begging for subs. So I'm glad you were finally able to help her out. I know. Oh no. I just realized that I gave Basil Leaf mod, and now she's timed out Mihir. So, okay. I'll let Numi figure that out when she gets back. Conz is here. Conz, where are you calling from?
Minnesota.
You know, that's where my video guy is from, Drew.
Minneapolis, probably.
Yeah, it's like the Twin Cities, I think.
Safest guess.
St. Paul, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. One of those. I don't really ask him questions about his life or really anything about him as a person. It was some documentation we filled out when he started working for me. What's your take? How can I help you?
So my take is about why Valorant is seemingly more popular to watch, or becoming more growing faster, and League is losing viewers.
And you're talking about specifically North America, right?
Yeah, in North America. I don't know anything about really the other regions, but I mostly play League, and I usually watch LTA, but this weekend I decided to watch I think it was the playoffs of VCT. And what I noticed about all the teams in LTA is that we have, like, the import rule, right? For the you get 2 imports per team.
Yes.
What I noticed is pretty much every team, like, they have that rule where if you stay in an A for so long, you become a resident. Pretty much every team in the LTA North has, like, technically some of them are residents, but no team has actual 3 North American players on their roster. It's usually someone who's gained resident status. And then I looked at Valorant, and I think most of the NA teams have full 5 NA players, and even some of the players on I think some of the Brazilian teams or some of their teams, they also have NA imports. So I think that maybe the teams having more NA players, and also the NA players being competitive, because I mean, I think in Valorant, NA's actually competes on like an international level, like they're actually decent. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's true. Yes.
Like they won a major at some point, right? I think Sentinels won like the equivalent of Worlds, right?
Yes.
So obviously that is not as feasible for League. Like, you know, NA's not too close to Korea or China. But what do you think about, I don't know if this has been talked about recently, but what do you think about them like fully capping imports to like
this
one?
Is
and
this
like getting
This is not the original take.
no. Okay, so I'm not trying to blow you up, but it is fun. So this was something that I have talked about for many years. I don't think that there's a world where they need to completely cap the import situation. I think one of the things that I pushed for a long time was them limiting how quickly they could cycle players in and out of the region, because for a long time they would just sort of bring in a Korean import and then the player would be here sometimes for less than 6 months, and then they'd swap them out for another player, and we had this rotating thing, not just with Korea but also with Europe and other regions. And so that was like a big thing that I was when Mark was on the show, he I feel like agreed with me a lot that this would be something that was very important. Then he became the commissioner and didn't fucking do it. But I think it's also kind of solved itself because teams don't have the ability anymore to keep offering millions of players.
Because we're poor now. Yeah.
Exactly.
And, you know, politics. Yeah.
What one thing about the money is, you guys familiar with the Sheep Esports guy?
I am.
Roughly,
I believe the Sheep Esports guy was in my Twitch chat during the show. So.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he was. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I was reading one of his articles about player salaries, and supposedly for this is I think for EU, importing a Korean player is cheaper than paying a rookie, from what the article said, by like 10,000.
Well, in terms of development costs, yes, and that's what happened in NA is we pretty much just outsourced our development to LCK, CL, where those teams pay to actually develop those players, and then we get the ones that aren't the best but are still pretty good. So,
and I think that not only in developing talent and getting better as a region, because I don't think it's really done anything. It hasn't really made us better. It also is just like, when I was tying this back to VCT, which was kind of my original point, when I was watching VCT, it's, you know, it's more of an like aggressive esport. They're like standing up and like trash talking each other, and like there's actual like rivalries between the teams. And I think it's a lot easier for a lot of them to interact and kind of form the rivalries when most of them are from NA. Because like, let's say you're a Korean import coming in, you know, you're just learning English, you're kind of getting used to the culture. It's I don't know, it's kind of hard to, you know, build a fan base or anything like that. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm looking at Twitch chat react to this. I can understand what you mean. It's like, if you are in an area where you feel comfortable to talk around the people and you feel like you understand the culture very well and the dynamics, and you are more likely to try to do things that are like non-conforming because you aren't worried as much about like offending somebody or whatever. And I understand that what you mean is that people are trying to be respectful, and so where are the lines? I think part of the reason why you see people standing up and shouting at each other is it's a very like FPS culture dynamic. Like we've seen that in a lot of other, like Call of Duty, they do that a ton. And so I think that is like maybe less to do with where a player is from versus what. Yeah, I think it has much more to do with just like the culture around League and maybe even like the type of game that type of people that League attracts.
Yep.
But I'm actually kind of curious. Cubby, do you happen to know what the import rules are in Valorant? Like, can you import players from any region?
I think it's kind of similar to what they are in League, frankly, but
I would
have no idea.
assume it is, yeah. So one of the other things that I think is different.
Also, Valorant was America's from the start, so I think that's like that creates just more flags under the America's banner than what we had for LCS from the start, which is pretty much just like US and Canada, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I will say that I think there's also the fact that Valorant is one, you have North America being strong in that game, but you also have it being the beginning. So for whenever League first started off, there was not
the Koreans
a lot
haven't
of
caught
players.
up yet.
Well, okay, yeah, that means, but it was not just that. It was also that teams had not started to feel like they can go do this and all that type of stuff. Like, I think that Valorant is still early days, and if you told me that 5 years from now, if Europe takes over as like the dominant region in Val, if you tell me that like suddenly you start seeing a ton of European players start showing up on Valorant teams, I would not be surprised. Like, I think that this happens slowly over time. Like, you were commenting on how you feel like there's not, you look at all the teams and you see players who are originally from other regions who have been, they've received like some sort of residency thing, either by getting a green card or whatever. Like, that happened over the course of many years, right? Impact has been in this league for a decade now, I think, something like that. So, give Valorant time, you might start to see it transform a little bit. That does not dispute anything that you just said, though, right? Which is, hey, is Valorant more hype? Is it something that people can feel more connected to because they haven't seen the crazy roster turn that we have in North America, and that they feel like there are more quote unquote hometown heroes than maybe you can find in the LTA? And I think, look, you call in with like, I think, a valid argument. There are so many valid arguments for the reason why LTA is in the place that it is compared to where Valorant is. The other thing I would say is, like, I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but I do think that Valorant has plateaued maybe a little bit. Like, I don't actually think that, like, LTA has definitely dipped year over year from what the viewership was when you looked at combined LCS and LCS and CBLOL last year. But I don't know if like Val is really like popping off in North America in the same way that people might feel like it is, or like especially the way it was originally. I think it's kind of plateaued in viewership. I don't know if you've checked recently, Cubby.
I don't know any of the I don't know any of the stats or anything. I've just gone off like, I think I don't know if it was a sniper. Some people were like tweeting about how like there's more fans for VCT in studio when they come in.
I will say,
and
it was tough this weekend because like I was at the studio and the audience is so much more hype and so much more full for the Valorant games than there were for the League games. And I will say, the other thing though,
FPS games, man, I think like it's not just that, it's so much easier.
Dude, I was looking and they do such a good job of hyping their crowd as well in a way that I don't feel like I see in LTA. Like, they literally do the sports arena thing where they will like show the audience and they'll show a bunch of things that say make noise, make noise, make noise. And you don't see that at all in League. So it was like interesting to sit there and watch, because for those that don't know, my room is my room. My room looks over that's mihir now is gonna comment something, and we'll see. My room looks out over the arena, and so you can see everything that's happening in the arena, and you see the audience and all that stuff. I'm kind of up on the second floor, and then in the little corner of that room, they have the TV. So normally I'm watching the League games out in front of me, and then you have the little TV in the corner where I can see like what's being broadcast to the stream. Mm-hmm. In this scenario, I'm watching Valorant in front of me, but I'm watching like the League games from the closet and the TV in the corner, and it is it is a surreal experience. And so it's like a personal torture, I feel like, for me, where you get to watch like the crazy audience and they're pumping the crowd full of noise and all this stuff, and then in the corner you just have the golf level silence of the LTA closet. So this is just a funny call to have for me to have this week because I just experienced that over the weekend. But,
I will say that is always my favorite. Whenever I used to go to LTA more often, I'd always go with Kangas, and Kangas would oftentimes just be getting the crowd going, which not my style as a fan, but was always appreciated. Making noise. That I didn't even realize that Valorant had like make noise signs because obviously that's not something we get when we show up to LTA games. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I appreciate your take here, and I feel like it is nice to hear from somebody. You said you were watching a lot of Valorant, I guess, and so this was sort of why you were feeling more drawn to it.
Yeah, I mean, I play League like pretty much exclusively, and haven't played Valorant in probably over a year. And I just decided to. I'm a 100T fan, so they were in the playoffs, and I was just. I don't know. It was just a lot of fun to watch, and yeah, I mean, it was I don't know. It was great.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for the call. Anything you want to shout
out? Not really. Fishlord, best NA Swain player. Other than that, no, I don't have anyone to shout out.
Well, thanks for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, that is the show. I have a couple shout outs really quickly before maybe we do like the real shout outs. One, oh damn, I had two and I can only remember one. I'm going to give one shout out. Was it Gurechi last week? I know she's in the chat who was talking about how little content like gets made by Riot. Okay.
Yes. You were roasting earlier too.
I should have gone and looked at the time when she called it about this at the LTA North YouTube channel. Have you looked at it, Cubby?
No, because let
me link it to you. I'll link it in the Twitch chat.
Okay.
I'll link it on YouTube too, just so that they know that I don't hate them. Okay. Since the hype video 4 weeks ago, so basically a month ago, I guess I could check what day.
The format changes video?
Well, there's the format changes video, then they released the hype video.
Then the hate, the what fuels you.
They have only posted. They have only posted pros dive, pros dive, pros dive, pros dive. Now we're at pros. Presumably we'll get the dive. This is just like a YouTube channel now that has 2 podcasts on it. And so I think at the time I should have gone and looked at this and been like, oh yeah, this is an issue. Yes, it does look like they are releasing shorts, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so they have shorts, but this might be the least amount of content that I've seen this YouTube channel create during the season, and I get that like they're cutting down a ton, but like,
yep,
it is pretty stark when you go look at the channel.
Yeah,
it's pretty stark.
So shout out to the DSG bootcamp video. Yeah.
Yes. But also, please, Riot, create some more content for your LTA North YouTube channel that is not just shorts and podcasts. All right. What was the other thing? Gurechi in chat screams, "That's what I'm saying. It's so fucked, and yet I eat it up every week because that's all there is." Well, here's a third podcast for you, I guess, as at the end of this thing. All right. So there was that. There was one other shout out I was going to make, and I cannot remember what it is. So, Cubby, what do you have for us at the end here?
Well, I'm gonna give you the floor for another shout out, Travis. This is our last episode with Skype. I know it's been a long relationship.
That's what it was.
With you.
That's what it was. Thank you for reminding me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, it's not completely confirmed, but hang on. Let's see did they give a date? I want to make sure that I can't get one more in.
The date was May.
Skype. No, yes, but like Skype end date. May 5th. Okay, May 5th. It's shutting down on May 5th. Do you think that means that it would shut down in the middle of the episode if we were doing it?
I mean, I think it might be worth recording an episode that shuts down in the middle just because Skype shuts down. That could be iconic, Travis. You get on a piece of history.
Okay, here's what I think we do. I think that if Skype is still up on May 5th when we can do the show, we do the show. with Skype on, and then if it ends during the middle of the show,
that's the show.
That's the show. We front load sponsors.
Yeah.
Emily Rand is supposed to be on next week's episode, so maybe we shouldn't do that because she refuses to ever use Skype. But Skype has been. Here's the thing, folks. Everybody has been telling me to go use something else. I've been looking into alternatives because I know this is coming. I've yet to find anything that is as simple, straightforward, and high quality as Skype for video. So everybody is like, why don't you use this? And it'll be like, connect your user's IP address through your WebSocket to create a portal into your network that you will pick up through this third-party software that you will need to compile yourself in Python. So I just want to say Skype is the best, and it's carried us through many episodes. Actually, I think I used Skype for the last 14 years of my esports content career. Why are you laughing at that, Cubby? Why are you walking away from the camera?
I was going to use my first shout out your editor Drew's DMs, which are likely going to be flooded about Skype solutions this week from Travis. So shout out Drew.
Thank you for helping me remember my third shout out, because I actually had 3.
Okay.
Shout out to Drew. It's his birthday.
Oh, happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Drew! Everybody, I'm gonna go. Where can I do this? His handle is Drew Fawcett. It's Drew_Fawcett, spelled FAWCETT. I'll share it in the Twitch chat and in the YouTube if you want to tweet at him and say happy birthday. Whenever you go to his Twitter account, little balloons pop up. He hasn't tweeted since January 25th, but I do know he's been working on content with an esports team, a pretty big video. I won't spoil it, but he's been unable to work with me for basically all of April because he's been working on this bigger project, and I think it's going to be really good. And yeah, so go say happy birthday to Drew. Anything else you want to shout out, Cubby?
No, not really. Shout out to all the teams that are competing at the highest level right now. It's the middle of the split. Can be busy. But yeah, congrats to UG for getting promoted and for TL. I do think it's a good move, and UG was the best player that we had in the league for the last year, and was one of the best players we had in the league this year. So I'm just happy he gets a shot. Feels well deserved, and definitely got a good landing spot. So shout out to him.
Yeah. Cool. That is the episode, everyone. We'll be back next week. Supposedly Emily Rand will be on that episode. She's told me that she's down to be on it. So if she's not on, then I don't know. Something went wrong. See you all then.